Daddy, hey Daddy, is we a going to VO Atlanta?
No, boy, we ain't a-going to down there. Didn't you hear that feller saying the other day, had that angry minute or whatever it is, it don't nothing go there but lonely and needy VO people, and we ain't lonely and we ain't needy.
But Daddy, I enjoy going down there and learning new things and all.
Yeah, but what that feller said was they don't tolerate us kind that had to earn while we learned. That's what we done in this business, right?
Well, yeah, Daddy, we used to be on fiber, and we done them $5 jobs every now and then. But we spent that money on coaching, we got better.
That's right, and that's what that feller's are teaching, I guess. But he says they don't teach that down there.
But Daddy, ain't you gonna speak at OVC and talk about that?
I sure am.
This episode is sponsored by VO Inbox, the only full-service marketing tool for established professional voice actors.
Well, here we are back again on the VO Life, and of all weeks, it is VO Atlanta week, and topics are flying around about demos and the types of reads that are hot for 2025. There was even mention on a recent podcast that the Southern accent was going to start booking national brands, and I said, I hope they mean that's me, but I don't know. But joining me today is one of my favorite demo producers, and we'll get into that more also, and I'll tell you why, is Michael Kussman. Michael, welcome.
Troy, hello. Great to be back. Great to be speaking with my favorite person in voiceover right now. It's been too long.
It has been a while. We get to message each other now and then, but sometimes it's really hard to get in touch and take a minute. And I'm glad we're doing this because over the past year or so, you have helped me with my commercial demo. We did like an in-show documentary type demo, and let me tell you, that documentary thing has probably gotten me more work than my commercial, and not really documentary work, but people hear both demos on my website and they say, I really liked this spot in your documentary video, even though I'm reading for a commercial spot. So it's very interesting how a lot of these things overlap. If you are a storyteller and you are connecting to your copy, it really doesn't matter the genre sometimes. I hear people all the time say they book automotive stuff off their commercial demo, so I'm sure it happens. But let's first get into what we're hearing a lot about here lately are shifting trends in commercial reads. And one of the things we're hearing is the shift is starting to go away from the flat conversational, and that's the word we don't love, the non-announcery read, but it is going back to a more aggressive read. So what do you think?
That's an interesting question, Troy. I do a ton of production for radio, producing commercials. And I mean, as you know, radio is kind of the Wild West in terms of reads. You never know what you're going to get. But, when they say the announcer is dead, I say the announcer is alive and well. And if we want to classify a more aggressive read as an announcer read, I'm not sure if we want to go ahead and do that, but there are tons of punchy, upbeat, in your face kind of hollering type of reads out there. On the production side of things, I don't do a ton of stuff for television, so I couldn't really tell you what's kind of in on TV. I should watch more. I should study up a bit more, but if history is any indication, the trends do change. And, I thought conversational is such a vague word, but I thought the more, connected read was here to stay virtually forever because, at the end of the day, that's people are connecting to, authenticity and context and feeling versus sound, right?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, if the change is happening, it's just starting and I'm not aware of it yet. Having said that, if history is any indication, there are trends, ebbs and flows, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of reads are dominating in the later half of the 2020s here.
Yeah, I also notice, even in my work, it's about, I want to say 50-50. I see a lot of, I do a lot of HVAC and some automotive and retail reads that are very announcery, and some of them are even like old situational type reads, like, sounds like the toilet's overflowing again, stuff like that. And
Yeah,
those are fun to do. And you sometimes you throw in a second voice, or, there's, the sound effect voices you can go grab where somebody's crying or screaming or yelling and whatever. And those are fun to do. I produce a few of those a month. But the feel is, or the feeling I think that they're still looking for. They want it connected. It needs to be engaging. There needs to be a balance between the assertion and not necessarily conversational, but a natural tone. Sure. And I think that's sometimes where we struggle is we are so accustomed to seeing the word in an audition, conversational. And conversational can be so many things, right?
Oh my gosh, so many things. How many conversations have you had? You know what it is, Troy, for me? It's such vague direction. If some of these clients just went a little step further and gave us a sense of context, i.e., you know, imagine you're talking to a friend over coffee. That's it makes a big difference than just saying conversational. Right? Or they say, imagine you're having an intimate conversation over dinner.
Right.
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 That like these are context driven specs that can really, change your read entirely versus the vague conversational read.
Right. I even like it to go further to set up the environment for me. As you said, a conversation with a friend over dinner in a quiet, intimate restaurant. That tells me to turn it way down, talk really quietly, to really be intimate with that person. But then on the other hand, I could be having a conversation at a ball game and the crowd's noisy. And we're like, oh my God, can you believe that? Look at that. That guy, he struck out. I can't believe it. So conversation can go everywhere. And then there's the other exception. You get a whole page of specs. And it's not just conversational and this. Then it goes into 6 different celebrities. Here are some celebrity references. And then here's some other spots that we want it to sound like. And by the time you get through all of that, you are so headlocked, you really don't know what to do. It's really, really difficult. And I'm to the point now where it's just like, I just got to do me. I got to figure out this situation. Where is this happening? What are they trying to say? How are they trying to say it? Who are they saying it to? What's the message here? Where are the changes in this copy? Where does it go from a little excitement to a calm and then back to excitement, and what is it doing, and how would I do that as me? And you have to become you. If you read all of this stuff and get too deep in your head, you're lost.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, Troy. And one other thing to consider, what conversation have you ever had in your life where there's images playing, right? If you study with a lot of the great VO coaches out there, they're going to tell you how king the images are, right? Especially when it comes to more, narrative-based stuff. But nonetheless, like, you have to consider the images, right?
Yep, 1,000%. And if you're ever lucky enough to see what they already have or even hear, what they already have, music.
Yes.
What a difference that can make. I think you may have been the person who keyed me into that on one of our platforms, is to always ask for it. Ask them if they have it.
Yes.
And it does make a difference when they do. I have had some clients actually send me, we're already into the first phase of the video, and here's the scenery and the music. And I just did one for a golf course in Lookout Mountain, Tennessee. It's a beautiful mountainside resort. And it was so much easier to go into the read and become a feeling instead of a voice, because once I saw the scenery and I saw the mountains and the way they had the drones, that it would go over the top of a hill and drop down, and there's this beautiful golf course and these beautiful houses, I was able to express how that would make me feel to see that and experience it. And that really helped with the spot. And we don't always get that. A lot of times it's just that dry piece of paper.
Right.
So as a creative, what's our job? What do we do from there?
Yeah. I mean, and listen, to the thing about getting the music, Troy, going back to this notion of feeling over sound, or story over sound, if you will. That's what music is at the end of the day. It evokes feeling and emotion within you. I oftentimes, if I'm ever kind of fighting a read or fighting an audition a little bit, and my internal director's going a little nuts on me, I will plug an AirPod in, pull up let's say it's a cinematic type of audition. I'll pull up some cinematic music, I'll play it in my ear, and it completely just channels the feeling, frees me up, and changes my read for the better.
Yeah.
If there's any new talent out there and you're kind of stuck in the mud a little bit, shake it up, throw the headphones in, play some music in the background, and watch how it just helps with the musicality of your read and the feeling of your read.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. And take the time to do it. That's the problem with most of us. An audition comes in, we're in a hurry, we blow through it, and next thing you know, you didn't do a very good job because you got in a hurry. And these things are important.
I gotta say too, when it comes to that, I know the popular, theory out there is just keep throwing stuff at the, mud at the wall and see what sticks. Get those auditions, crank them out as fast as you can. I'm going to go against the grain here and say, I do not do that. I take the time to make sure I own the story on the page. I make sure that confidence is my top agenda, because if I just start spewing out words and try to get an audition done within 5 minutes, it's terrible. Versus if I try to create some context, establish truth and authenticity behind my read via context, maybe get a sense of what type of music is going to be on it, really think about the images, look for the turning points in the story. Those are the jobs I book. And maybe it's because I'm, like yourself, I'm about five plus years into the biz. Maybe that still takes me a bit longer, but I do not just pump out 50 auditions and spend 5 minutes each.
Right.
I'm not saying spend an hour on each audition, but heck, I spend 15, 20 minutes, no problem, on an audition.
Yeah, and that's not overkill, not at all, especially to understand the copy, be immersed in the copy, understand all the changes, and then you start deciding which two of my reads will go here. This is me in this environment, and this is me in that environment, and that's where you make your changes and you win. And you're exactly right. And we have both evolved our businesses from working hard and recording a lot to then understanding, growing in it, and coming to a point to where you don't have to book as much. you want to book as much as you can, but you don't have to book as much to make the money we were making 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
And it makes you a better voice actor, and that is the key to this. With all of that going on, how do we tie this in to demos in 2025? Because everything changed, and I know you're in Canada, but everything, Canadian or American, I think, changed due to the election in the States. It changed a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff going on. It has changed the approach, I think, to a lot of advertising. I see that advertising has gotten a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but it's not as apprehensive as it was, because I know in the past we heard a lot of very flat reads. I don't care reads, I guess is the way to put it. And if your demo was produced the last couple of years, you may have a lot of those on your demo. You could possibly still have some COVID-related things on your demo that are outdated and need to go. But you may still have a couple of really good, outstanding spots. So what's your take on how all of that is coming around this year, and how can people know what to update or what to do?
That's a good question. Whenever I do a demo, I like to cover all my bases in terms of, the popular reads out there. But to your point and what you just said, a lot of people aren't going to listen to your entire demo. And so what that might mean is we rejig the composition of the demo. Mm-hmm. During COVID, where that warm, trustworthy, we got your back, everything's okay type of read might have been, your leadoff batter on the demo. Now maybe that's 4th or 5th or 6th, because again, not everybody's going to listen to the whole thing.
Right.
Now maybe it's something with some authority behind it that's going to lead off the demo. Right? Exactly. So personally, I still think, all bases should be covered. There should be, a conversational laid back, a conversational upbeat, a warm, trustworthy, an epic cinematic, an announcer, what have you, a raw testimonial if you want. But, maybe that, again, the composition changes and the order of the spots changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. It does make sense. And I know even with my own stuff, I have looked at that and even looked at, I have an exciting retail read on there. And one of the things that I've learned also, or that I think I've learned, this is kind of out of the blue. There are spots that we book that we forget sometimes could be one of the most excellent demo spots. If it is a national account or a large account, something recognizable, but maybe something very different than what you have in your demo. I always tell people to keep your eyes and ears open for that stuff, because you booked it, so that tells you it was a good read. It was probably well produced. And one of the things that I always listen for in demos also is that all 5 spots or 6 don't sound like they were recorded the same day. Or mixed exactly the same, because real spots, which is what you want a demo to sound like, we know they're not real, but you want them to sound real, and they need to sound different, the way they're mixed, the way they're compressed. You don't want every tone of your voice to sound like they recorded that in an hour, and absolutely. I think it sounds a lot better when there's variation.
I couldn't agree more. And I even think too, a nice little trick I heard from Uncle Roy is, if you got a couple mics in the mic locker, switch up the mic. Mm-hmm. Go from the Sennheiser to the Neumann or to the Rode or whatever have you, just for a little bit of a different sonic profile.
Yeah. That definitely does make a difference. Just don't break out your Blue Yeti.
Oh,
keep that thing in the locker.
Yeah, no Yetis.
Yep, for sure. So the noticing there in your studio and in mine, the 416 still the king of mics for so many of us. Are there any other tools out there you'd recommend to some of our newer people to say that, cut some costs, try this starting out. And I always tell people, don't worry about gear till you learn what you're doing. You can record into your phone and practice. You don't have to have all of this until
Right.
you know this is made for you. And that's one of my big pushes the past year is there are so many folks who don't know. I mean, they don't know if they can make it or not, and they go buy equipment and they might build a booth and sound treat a room. And I'm like, well, don't do that first. That's a big expense. But what's some of the things you would tell people starting out? What should they do first?
Well, let me say this. Let me say that, and I might have said this on the last podcast, but as an audio engineer, somebody who produces commercials, I would rather have a good storyteller on a mid-level to cheap mic versus, an average to not good storyteller on the Sennheiser or on the Neumann any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to best bang for your buck mic wise, I swear by the Rode NT1.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's got a great sound. It's a cost wise, I guess it would be considered a mid-tier kind of microphone, but I see no reason why, if your room is treated, you could go through your entire career with the Rode NT1, and I have no doubt you could book, national spots using it.
Yeah.
Like the Sennheiser or the Neumann, like the space, as you know, the space is so important. The Sennheiser or the Neumann in an untreated room is useless.
Right.
Get the Rode, get the, the moving blanket fort, the walk-in closet, excuse me. And there's no reason why you can't book good spots out of the walk-in closet with the Rode NT1, maybe going into the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, which again is the intro to mid-level kind of interface.
Yeah. A lot of people are using those. I opted for the Audient ID4. I had a ProSonus, and I donated it to a guy out in Texas who just using that ProSonus and the little AT shotgun mic that's $169.
Yeah.
He just did national spots for Marco's Pizza and for Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah.
In a walk-in closet. And, it can be done. Oddly, he just sent me a message saying, hey, my new Marco's spot just dropped. It's very exciting because these are people that you help along the way and you see them apply these basic things and they're booking national jobs.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see. And this is a $169 short shotgun mic you can buy from Amazon. And I've tested it against my 416. It's equitable. I mean, and I use mine all the time out in my video area when I'm shooting user-generated content or spokesperson videos. I've got it way up overhead and, just out of camera, and it's wonderful. Even if my central air conditioner kicks on, you barely even notice that the air came on or anything. Just really, really good at getting rid of background noise, focusing on your voice, and it's crisp and clear, and like I said, good enough for national spots. So it's not the $1,000 microphone that makes you a good voice actor.
I would tell any newcomers out there, start with coaching.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Start with whatever, an intro level coach, a mid-level coach, even one of the bigger coaches out there. Start with your performance.
Absolutely. And if you want to test the water, go to some workshops as an observer. A lot of them have, the workshop's $100 or $80, but you can observe for $25. You can't speak, you can't comment, but you can watch and you can see this is how they do it. This is how they instruct people to read, and you can learn not only the way reads are constructed and how the bullet points of how to make the changes and what we're looking to hear, but you can also get the comfort level of, do I really want to do that? and it really helps. One thing I always tell people in workshops, even when we just do small ones with 6 people, is please never, ever rehearse doing the workshop. Always watch all 5 other people. You will get a wealth of knowledge from the other people.
Right.
And if you're muted and you're over here practicing, and you're practicing to come on and wow everybody, that's not why you're in a workshop. You're in a workshop to learn and absorb, not to come in there and impress who's holding the workshop, not in a general workshop. Now, down the road, when you go to a workshop with Atlas Talent or somebody like that, absolutely, you're going in there to show your wares and what you can do, but you don't want to go to those up front. You want to go to VO Gurus, workouts like that, go to group workouts and Facebook groups, go to ones where you can get some help and understand the business. And then when you've mastered things and you have a demo and you have a website, sure, go to these agent workouts and hopefully show them what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very difficult business to get into. And I think getting more difficult year after year.
Troy, you're 100% right. I listened to your video you posted the other day on Facebook, which I thought was just so spot on. Those of us who snuck in pre-COVID got lucky.
Right.
The business was booming. If you were somebody who started out on Fiverr, there was tons and tons of work, intro level stuff for you to kind of get your reps in doing paid work.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is competitive. It's hard, it takes a lot of work, but man, is it so worth it.
Right.
You said yesterday on that video, you said, I'm making, quote unquote, I don't know, I'm making a pretty good living and I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Right. For sure.
And that hit home for me. I couldn't agree more. Every day I wake up, I'm grateful to walk into the booth, check the auditions for the day, get to work, but every day is a battle for work.
It is. And I've said this often, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, because there's no one else on the team. It's, you are doing it all. You are doing the marketing, you're doing the work, you're doing the training, you're doing the accounting, you're doing the advertising, the branding, you're doing everything. And I have made, like a lot of people, I've made mistakes. I branded in one direction and I realized that really wasn't a smart move. It fit me at the time, but it made more sense to say, I want to get more into storyteller mode, because I book a lot in a storyteller voice, or a lot of the copy I read has to do with family or story or whatever. So it pushed me to get away from saying blue collar, which was my background in working. I came from a blue collar background, but my voiceover was more of a, like I said, the storytelling. And I landed on the phrase sounds like home. And that fit for me. And so I completely changed my branding. I kept my colors, went to on my website where it's a front porch and me standing on the porch, and it says sounds like home, and that was what I wanted to go after. It felt better. And, but you will evolve and do that. And that's why I tell new people, you don't have to worry about websites and branding and all that. Learn, get all this down, find out where your work takes you. And then when I would look back over the last couple of years and I said, the number one things that I was booking was this, this, and this, what does that say about my brand?
Yeah.
It doesn't say blue collar, it doesn't say that at all. It just says, I can tell a story and put you at ease.
Yes.
And lead you along this path. And to me, that sounds like home. And that was what I wanted. But you evolve all that stuff over time. It just,
and it takes time to find your quote unquote money read.
Yes.
Right. It takes time. Even when I started, oh my gosh, I was advertising myself as a big booming announcer. And that wasn't what I was booking a ton of, like you said,
Right.
right? It took me a while to figure out that, if I just pull back and put a smile on my face, I can be a conversational, casual, upbeat, relatable millennial
Right.
versus, a big booming announcer where I'm, competing with some really, really good seasoned veterans who are true booming announcer guys.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, I ran into that a little bit on the radio imaging side because you hear certain people and you think, well, I can do that. And
Yeah.
you can emulate it, but you don't sound the same.
Yeah.
And what I found was the more quickly I settled into myself, even in imaging, whether it was talk radio or country radio, I will occasionally audition for classic rock, but I don't have some of the growl that some of these guys have. I'm more of just like I do in my regular commercial reads. I'm most at home doing what they would call legends in country music, that play older songs and older stuff, and it's going to relate to that crowd, and my voice relates to them. And when you market in the right direction, you'll pick up more business, and that's what I've tried to do, and it works. But it took a while, because you have beliefs of I can do this, and I can do this, and I think I can do this. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're trying to do too much and not really concentrating on what you're really good at. And what you want to do is build that niche of what you're really good at and try to corner that market. And, what I'm running into now, when I was on 5 or 2 years ago, you didn't see 6 people with a Southern accent gig. Now there's pages of them because they saw somebody was in there getting a bunch of orders. Yeah. And so now a ton of people go in there and they fake a Southern accent, which is,
for sure.
It's okay. It's fine. Yeah. Everybody should do what they can, because I fake stuff all the time. I have a very transatlantic thing I do for newscaster stuff, and I book it quite a bit. And it's odd sometimes what you'll book that's not in your wheelhouse, but I try to stay in my lane if I can.
Yeah, and Troy, to your point there, I do a lot of presets for people. I help them tune in their sound as best, according to their room, their mic, what have you. The amount of people who will get into contact with me and will send me a link to another voice actor who's maybe a booming announcer and say, hey, this is the sound I'm going for. And I hear their sample read that they've sent me. And my heart goes out to them because, I only have so much time with them, but I just want to be like, you would be so good for such and such type of read. Mm-hmm. Again, as somebody who's producing commercials daily, and I've been there where you start the journey and you want, you have a sound in mind and it's, you want to go for it, but it's just, like you said, it takes time. It's a journey of self-discovery. But when you find your niche, that's when you start to book the big work.
Right. It does make a difference, and you realize when something hits your inbox, you look at it and you know why you got it. You have what I have found over the last year or so is a handful of agents that I was working with didn't really know me very well, and they sent me a lot of things I didn't need to audition for. Mm-hmm. I culled that down to 3 who typically send me things I'm a fit for, and I know when that comes in, it's on me now. It wasn't on them to send it out to a bunch of people, but it's on me because they sent it to me and they know this is in my wheelhouse and I have to do a really good job with it. And that's really helped me slow down and do better in the past year or so. 2 more things I want to hit on before we jump off of here. And the first one being AI. We have watched AI change and evolve. When I first got into this, AI was so bad, nobody would have used it. However, today, it is so good, a lot of people are using it. It's still not where it needs to be. It doesn't always have a feel to it. yes, they are plugging in breaths and pauses, and it does sound more realistic. But as a voice actor, what should we be doing to stay ahead of this, to be not having to worry as much about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. First, let me just say that you're absolutely right. When we snuck into the industry pre-COVID, AI was the iPhone Siri voice, and nobody was using it. And a lot of those bottom of the barrel jobs that, were Fiverr-esque jobs, you know, um, out of country, translated to English type of jobs that, you could get on Fiverr. AI is doing them because they sound just good enough.
Right.
Now,
Right.
another thing too, I think, our business goes with the economy to an extent, right? If companies are looking to cut costs, um, maybe they'll opt for the AI voice and they'll, you know, um, go that route. But we really do have to make it a point to be AI proof. And I don't ever see AI getting to a point, Troy, where they can tell a story, give it the nuance, the humanity, the subtlety that true good storytelling and good voice acting at the top level requires.
Right.
As I mentioned
Right.
at the start, the industry is more competitive than ever. And that's because those big jobs aren't going to AI. So if you were, you know, an untrained low level voice actor with a kind of cool voice who could book something every now and then, you know, those jobs are just going to become more and more seldom. And it's going to be, in my opinion, commercial and animation that really are the two predominantly humanly voiced, let's say, jobs.
Right.
Some of the, the mid-level, low-level narration jobs, e-learning, what have you, telephony, you know, those can go to AI and companies are, probably going to opt for it. But at the top level, the humanity is what books you the job.
Right. 100%. You have to make people feel something, and
Yes.
AI does not. I mean, I can listen to it for 10 minutes, and it's just numbing in a way because I know it doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's not feeling anything that it's reading, and that is what we what we have to do as a voice actor. We got to be sure we are transferring the feeling that we may have as we read it and we get into it. Really good
Yeah.
points. And although
AI doesn't have that perspective either, Troy. AI is not thinking about, what's the pre-life of this story, what led up to it,
right,
all the context-based stuff that's so key to evoke feeling.
right,
Like you said, AI is a one-trick pony.
yeah, 100%. It's going to serve a purpose, as you said, and this bottom of the barrel stuff and the it's just good enough stuff. And sadly, in corporate narration, you're bringing people on and they're onboarding. Gosh, I know because I've been through so much of that and even presented and taught it live, and just watching people nod off, even with a live person. So I can somewhat understand why the companies go, they're not paying attention anyway, but we have to do this. By law, we have to communicate this. So just let that thing do it. Just whatever, and you're right. They get to the it's good enough mentality. Let's bounce over to demos because I want to encourage people to reach out to you if they are looking to update and do something new, or maybe they've been practicing and they're working at this for a couple of years and they're ready for a demo. You can also meet with them and talk to them about maybe some further coaching they might need or where they are they ready or not? Your demos are fantastic. And I say that because if I lay them out against everybody else in the industry, the sound is fantastic. The spots are fantastic. You write all the copy. They are relevant. They are current. They are things you would want to hear as a casting person or an agency. These are the type spots they want to hear. You've got your finger on that pulse. So talk to us about your demo process, how you walk people through. What's it like to do a demo with you?
Yeah. So, I mean, a big part of my business is audio production. So I do, I would say 50-50 between voice acting and audio engineering, audio production. When it comes to a demo with me, like you said, the first thing is you have to be ready, to an extent for sure. You can't buy a microphone, jump in the walk-in closet, hit play in Audacity and, be ready for a voiceover demo.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be an injustice for me to, take on a client like that. If you've been at this for, 6 months, a year plus, and you're auditioning for real stuff, you've got a relative sense of performance technique. Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's no better showcase and nothing that packs more of a punch than a good solid commercial or narration demo. When it comes to doing a demo with me, yeah, I like to first just meet, consult, get a sense of what the person is booking, what they think they could book, what they sound like. We develop a sort of game plan. As I mentioned before, I like to really cover my bases in terms of the prominent reads out there. And for me, that's conversational casual, that's conversational upbeat, that's warm, trustworthy, we got your back, announcer, epic cinematic, maybe a raw testimonial, maybe something a little character-y. Every voice actor's, different.
Mm-hmm.
And really,
mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, Troy, my ultimate goal is, yes, I have these, boxes of prominent reads that I want to tick, but we really want to just showcase that person's personality in 75 seconds. That's my goal. Who are you in 75 seconds? Right? What can you bring to the table?
Right.
Like you said, I write scripts. I worked in commercial production in a radio station. I got a sense of the composition of the scripts. So I write the scripts. I do the direction. I do the production. There's no middleman. There's no, script writer, producer, and then I'm just collecting 60% and, what have you. I'm there the entire way. That's the way I like to do it. And yeah, I love to do a coaching session prior to our recording session. The last thing I want is to just jump on a session and we start recording the scripts. I love to spend 90 minutes, heck, maybe 2 coaching sessions if we need it, dialing in every read, establishing context, making confidence an agenda so that when it does come to recording, we're ready to rock. Then when it comes to recording day, it's just a matter of laying down, a whole bunch of takes based off the style we've agreed upon and just, letting the creative juices flow. After that, it's full production. As you know, I'm obsessed with sound. I've spent money, hard work, blood, sweat, and tears really identifying how to make a voiceover just pop and just shine and just sound good. So full mix, mastering, music, sound effects, vocal tuning, cut nice and chopped, nice and snappy, tight, and delivered to you.
Well, I can say from working with Michael, it's a great experience. I mean, his coaching is spot on, and everything you're going to get at the end product is spot on, and you will be very satisfied with the investment that you make because it is not what you'd expect for what you get. And he does vet people. He and I both have sent files back and forth on people who have reached out to us and said, hey, do you know this person? Listen to this. What do you think? And, we have done that and worked with each other that way. I've sent him several referrals for people trying to go in, and he's turned people away and said, I don't feel like you're quite prepared yet, to do this, and I recommend this or that. So he will be straight with you. He'll be honest with you. And if you're ready, he will darn sure help you, because it will be a very nice experience and you'll be very pleased with your product. And on the other hand, let's say you come back and say, I just hate this one spot. It doesn't sound like me. He'll fix that for you. He'll pull it out, put something else in, or whatever you want to do. He wants you to be happy with it. And I think you will. And I know on the, we had a third party involved with my documentary thing, who made a couple of little suggestions, and they weren't that big, but they did make a difference. It was things you and I maybe didn't hear or didn't pay attention to, but he did. And he said, hey, I've been submitting this stuff for years to these agencies, and there's, this needs to start with your voice, not this space, and this needs to change, and I would move this over here. And then when we redid it and played it back, it was like, darn, he was right, because this was a new experience for both of us to go into something a little more narrative or documentary type, and it worked out really well. And I know I told you before we jumped on, I have people all the time on commercial reads reference that narration and documentary demo. I really like the way you read this. Could you do it like that? They haven't come back and asked for the barbecue cook-off read yet, but I'm waiting on it. That was by far the most fun spot that we did. It was so much fun to do. But yeah, you can just hear the redneck oozing, and it was fun. Oh, hey man, thanks so much for taking time today. It's been a while since we've talked, and we need to do this more often. Give everyone the information on how they can find you, because we really need to let people know what great demos these are. You can go listen to stuff on my site. I'm sure he can give you other samples or links to other people's stuff that he's done. And Michael also does a really good job with radio imaging. He did my radio imaging spots. I have now remixed, because I have booked work, and I've taken a couple of the best country spots that he and I did and mixed in some actual work. And that is helping me get more work. It really does help. And he was a big help to me learning how to do my own production with imaging. And, there's just so many things you can gain. So tell everybody how to reach out and find you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Troy. If you go to my email, email, michaelkussmanvoices@gmail.com. Alternatively, my website, michaelkussmanvoices.com. I got a ton of samples up there. And Instagram, Michael Kussman Voices. That's any of those should work fine. And I look forward to connecting with, whoever, even if it's just a chat or, what have you. So thanks for that, Troy.
Yeah, awesome. And I will put those spellings and links in the show notes, because I always, anytime I talk to somebody, I say it's K, 2 S's and 2 N's, and they usually can get it, but you never know.
Made that point. You're right.
You never know. I will put that in the show notes so they know. Yeah. And this has been a great conversation. Thanks so much. Here we are during, it's the week of VO Atlanta. This is the first one I've missed in 4 years. And I'm not having, what's the FOMO, the fear of missing out. I am going to miss seeing people I knew, but this was one of those years I said, I haven't been super, super healthy. I've had some back issues, had some other issues going on. And I said, I need to take a little time off, stay home. We went through a lot at the end of the year. My wife had 2 back surgeries in the last 6 months, and it's just been so much going on. And I said, I need to just exhale, relax, take a break, do a few podcasts, do some things like that. But I appreciate you joining me this week.
Anytime, my friend. Thank you, Troy.
Folks, reach out to Michael if you're looking for some demo work. You will not be dissatisfied. You'll be surprised. And I think that's, there are a lot of people out there doing demos and doing a lot of demos. And I promise you, none of the other production will outshine what he can do for you. and you will enjoy spending time with him. You'll enjoy the process, and you will have a very nice product to go with it. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us here on the VO Life, and again to Michael for taking time out of his busy schedule, his busy production and VO schedule. And we will catch everybody later right here, hopefully next week.
You've been listening to the VO Life with Troy Holden, sponsored by voinbox.com. Be sure and join us every week for more talk about the voiceover business, from industry news and views to the latest in tech. Also, be sure and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We are heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and over 20 other feeds. Want to be a guest on the VO Life? Send an email to Troy at troyholden-vo.com. Thanks again for listening.